Welcome to the Learning Corner with Scott and Stacie. I'm Scott.
And I'm Stacie.
And today we're going to talk about boycotting negativity.
Yes.
So why is that so important?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by boycott and not negativity. I think really with this topic, it's about within the workplace. And so a couple of different reasons. I know for me, and kind of if I can speak for us, what we've done is we just generally like being around happy people. And we're pretty happy people, and so we like to surround ourselves with that. But when it gets, some people say down to the brass tacks, people just don't want to buy from unhappy people. And so if you kind of think about it, do you go to a restaurant where you know the staff is going to be kind of moody? Not normally.
Not me.
Yeah.
Nope.
You're not normally going to go to. Do you go put your car in the shop with a mechanic that just constantly complains every time you're there, and he complains about everything all the time?
Not me.
Most people don't, and so but so that's why for us it's really important. We want a happy staff. So much so we put it in our core values.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by happy?
Well, it doesn't mean for us that it's always, whistle while you work, or it's always, everything is always roses. But in general, for us, we look for folks who just at the core are happy people. You've run into people who you know that are just always find something wrong, are always unhappy. Those just don't fit in our organization. So what I mean by being happy is just in general having a pleasant disposition.
Okay. Is everybody in the organization a Pollyanna?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'm probably the closest to a
You
Pollyanna.
probably are.
In
You
the
probably
organization.
are. And I'm probably the farthest away from that, so we're a good balance for each other. But no, again, it's not always everybody is just, sunshine and roses. But in general, it's a pretty happy place to be.
Okay. So for the small business owner that's watching and has a couple of employees in their organization, and they're looking at it and they're like, I got some negativity going on in my business. How do you go about instilling positivity in your staff? How do you train that? Can you train for happiness?
I don't know if you can train for it. That's a good question. But you certainly can identify it, and you certainly can address it. And so that's one of the things that we do is, I think you've heard us talk about, we have the book, the Traction. Gino Wickman wrote a book called Traction that we use, and it's about the entrepreneurial operating system. There are several different components of it, but one of them that I really love and has helped us tremendously is called the People Analyzer. And so every quarter, the management team sits down and goes through all of our core values along with every single person in the organization.
Okay, so it starts with core values.
Starts with core values. And so one of our core values, we have 5. So our core values are do the right thing.
Yes.
And so it's just what we do, okay? It's quality. We follow the process. Yes, we have quality work, but as much so we're more interested in the quality of the process, because when you do a process over and over again, you get the same results, and that's the quality that we want. Third one is happy. We want people to enjoy what they do. The fourth one is passion. We want people to have a passion for something. Doesn't have to be roofing or shingles, but just a passion in life. And the last one is family, is that we just take care of each other on the job and off the job. So, but we have happy actually in our core value. So for our current employees, we sit down and we say, okay, we've got a grid, and that grid has our core values at the top. So it would have do the right thing, quality, happy, etc. And then we have the employee's name on the side. And for each one, we go through and we say, does that employee exhibit that core value most of the time, some of the time, or nearly none of the time? And so I code them.
Color code those?
Yep, I color code them red, yellow, green, because it's easy when you look at the whole thing to see, where do I need to address some things. We also have them by department, so it kind of helps to be able to see how a full department is looking. But we ask the question as a management team for each person, do we think they're a happy person? And so if there is a yellow or a red, we sit down and start thinking and talking about, is this person always unhappy because maybe they're in the wrong job? Maybe they need more training. We want to make sure there's not something that we haven't provided that would help with that. Or is it just kind of who they are as a person? So that's one of the ways we identify and work on that from employees that are already on board with us. Now, but honestly, I believe it starts at the application process. When we're hiring people, we hire and fire based on our core values, as you well know.
Yes.
That's something that we are very firm about. And so when I'm interviewing applicants, I have on my sheet that I'm looking at, I'm making notes on, I have our 5 core values written at the top. And I'm asking questions, and I'm looking at those core values, happy being one of those, and I'm going to make a determination with that applicant. Do I see those core values in that applicant? And if I see somebody, when I ask questions about customer service, you can ask questions about, tell me about a time when, you had a manager that gave you an instruction that you weren't really sure how to do that. And if their answer is something like, oh man, this guy was always telling me to do something, he didn't know what he was doing, that just kind of tells you what they look for. And then you have to decide whether you want that in your organization or not.
Yeah. Okay. So what's it look like? Well, really, have you ever had to fire somebody because they didn't meet that qualification?
We have. It was very unfortunate. It's one of those things you never want to have to do. But yeah, we had an employee that just was unhappy about everything. And unfortunately, it wasn't just with work, it was in life in general. And
so he wasn't just having a bad day?
No. We always want to make sure it's not just somebody having a bad day or not somebody having a bad week, or if somebody's had something traumatic in their life at home that's happened. That's different. This person was months of being unhappy, and it was being unhappy about any and everything. It wasn't just one particular area. And after many attempts, we just had to say, this just isn't the right place for you. And wish them the best. Hope they find something that makes them happy. My goal in life is for people to find something that they enjoy doing. And if it's not here, that's okay. We're not everybody's cup of tea. And so that's all right.
Yeah. So tell me, I imagine that had a pretty big impact on the rest of the team. What's it feel like when you let that unhappy person go? How does the rest of the team react?
Well, I got a lot of, what took you so long? Because it had started rubbing off on them. Yeah. I had several people that said, man, that person was difficult to work with and really brought me down. And I had, a couple people that just said, I didn't want to work with them, and so I never wanted to be paired with them. And I don't want folks to feel that way. I mean, you don't want your folks coming to work going, man, I got to put up with that one again. Yeah. And it actually gave relief to the rest of the staff.
Yeah, I've heard over and over that when you finally let that bad person go, that's the hardest thing in the world for me to do, is to cut somebody loose. I've really, really struggled with that over the years. But when you finally let go of that person that everybody knows needs to not be there anymore, man, the whole atmosphere improves in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I also imagine, what was that person like when they're dealing directly with a customer?
Well, and we talk a lot about, now we've got quite a few employees, and what we look for when I'm hiring people is, who are they when I'm not around? And happy just fits into that. I want them to be happy. I truly want them to enjoy what they do, and that show through because they're representing us. And that's, if you're representing us, that's who we are. I do have to say one more thing. We talk about boycotting the negativity. One of the things that you have to cut out, and the larger your organization grows, the more important it is the gossip. You've got to make sure that you can't have employees talking about employees, or hey, did you hear what happened over here? Hey, so that's something you have to kind of keep your thumb on to make sure that that doesn't happen, which means that you can't do that either. So you need to make sure that, as I tell my management team all the time, in one room, we can battle it out and we can disagree, but when we walk out the door, we are all one team. But I expect the same thing from my employees. And, at our office, if you disagree with something we do, come in and let's talk about it. But then when you walk out the door, once we've made a decision, this is how we're doing things, my expectation is you to toe the line and this is how we're doing things. You can't have, somebody walking out and going, well, that's not the way I want to do it. Here, let me tell you why it's wrong, and let me tell you what's going on over here. So you just, that you have to make sure to keep that out of the organization.
Yeah. As you know, we're big Dave Ramsey fans, and personal finance is very important to us, but that actually is from a different book that doesn't have anything to do with personal finance.
Yeah.
First time I ever heard about that was in Dave's book, EntreLeadership.
Yes.
And at first I was like, what? But it really, when you can cut out the gossip in the background, whether that's business related gossip or, hey, did you hear about Mrs. Jones? That it really contributes to the culture in your workspace and improves things a lot.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I make it a point that if I'm going to say something about somebody, it's the same thing. I would say it in the middle of in front of the whole office. And so, it's, if you always keep that in your back of your mind, then you don't have to worry about who's hearing what.
Yep. So. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And if you've enjoyed this, we'd really appreciate it if you'd share this with your friends. And if you know somebody that needs to hear any of these things that we're talking about, please feel free to tag them below. Thank you.